Is happening today, traders? Welcome to this Freaky Friday. My name is Trap Trades, and let's break down the technical analysis of stock ticker AMC. So last time we went in, I believe it was 2 days ago, and we talked about a potential falling wedge pattern, and we actually had it drawn up, and it kind of did exactly what we were talking about. So we talked about the potential for trading sideways, and then you fall back into the wedge, and you test the 200-day moving average on the 4-hour. And I'm not going to say I'm a guru because I'm not, and this isn't financial advice, but you did exactly that. You traded sideways, you kind of got outside the wedge, the volume wasn't there, and you broke back in from the news last night of Israel bombing Iran. Terrible situation. I think it will escalate. So, of course, we have to be prepared for more potential downside. But I do less of the fundamentals and less of the news, and I do more of the technical analysis. What is the chart telling me? The chart is telling me that you actually have a 4-hour cross on the MACD, and that's a valid technical pattern. You also almost have a breakout of the wedge. You tested the 200-day moving average, and then you bounced above it. And so now you're starting to look for confluence on the different time frames, and you're also looking for GameStop to make a solid-sized move because you saw AMC hold pretty strong, even though GameStop knifed 30%. So let's get into the daily. So on the daily picture time frame, you do have a volume gap, and you have a gap right around 328. And you'd expect that to fill if you do get the breakout of the wedge. Personally, I would not mind if it's a DCA striking along here. Of course, it's not financial advice, but I would not mind that at all, because once you fill that gap, you might begin to have this daily MACD start to curl up, and then maybe the momentum is back in the bull's favor. Maybe this was just a little flash crash. Only time will tell. I could totally be wrong, but I'd like to see us retest this 200-day moving average, probably just kind of trade sideways on it, and then get the big breakout from volume. And what you would see is you'd see this 50 start to curl above, and then hopefully you get what we were talking about, the big fat golden cross. That's the end goal. Is I want to get a golden cross. I want AMC to be an arbitrage play off of GameStop's upside. I do still believe in GameStop, even though Ryan Cohen can't freaking stop going absolute ham on the sell button for diluting the stock. Although I understand it is for a better cause, they're going to have billions and billions and billions of dollars of cash on hand. I understand the retail sentiment, and I understand that sell stock go down, buy stock go up. But you also have to look at the longer term picture and see that GameStop they have multiple institutions and insiders buying stock. You had Ryan Cohen himself buy stock. You had Ryan Chong, I believe Ryan Chong is his name, buy stock. This is very, very bullish. It's something that you don't actually see in AMC yet, and I'm hoping that does change. That would be pretty tremendous if Adam Aaron bought stock, but I haven't seen it, and I don't know if we will, so I wouldn't bank on that. But let's get back into the potential downside, right? So let's kind of just draw a trend line. I'm totally just free balling here. I have no plans other than that golden cross for this video. So let's go into technical confluence. This is me going on the fly, but if you do expect a downside breakdown from this falling wedge, which is usually unlikely, but is not impossible, you do have a little bit of confluence of this uptrend right around the 50-day moving average on the daily. And if you did knife below, you would expect maybe like a quick little tap right around 297 and then a bounce out. That would be the worst case scenario in my opinion of the bull case. And so the best case scenario, I think, in my opinion, would be you break out of this falling wedge, you test the 200, you trade flat, you get above, you retest, and then you go. for me, that would be absolutely outstanding to see. But let's get into GameStop a little bit. Let's just jump over to our good old boy Jimmy, our best friend. Let's see. So GameStop is in a little bit of a different situation. You do have the 4-hour MACD about to cross green, which is a good look, but you are still in this overall downtrending move that you don't love. I think as long as you are not above this trend line, you are going to continue potentially trading sideways, and then you would potentially, I mean, if you're following the trend, you would look for another leg down, because the trend is your friend. Oftentimes, I do not fight the trend, I only ride it. And that's why stock analysis, like stock indicators like RSI and MACD, are pretty quintessential for my trading. My own trading thesis or my own trading style is because I'm a momentum trader, and these are momentum indicators. So if you do look, let's see what the possible, and that would just be a nasty, stupid, let's try this. Try from here. That would be a pretty nasty move, guys. That would be down to $18, and that would probably be the best buy of your life on GameStop. I wouldn't anticipate it going any lower than $20 to $18 there. But if it did, that's a fantastic buying opportunity, and you should be ready for that possibility, because anything is possible. You could have the U.S. get involved with this Iran and Israel situation. Trump was going crazy on media saying that they would defend Israel, and that would be a hot mess express if Iran decided to go that route. I know Iran was even tweeting, I think it was Iran military. It's pretty hilarious, actually. They tweeted, "Remember, we didn't start this," or "Remember, we didn't initiate." And so that is potentially just them trying to intimidate, blowing smoke, but we'll see. Time will tell. But I would say for the bull case scenario is you break this, and let's just do green. Let's do green or aqua, whatever the heck that is. I would say bull case scenario is you break this trend. Break this trend, you kind of make some kind of cup and handle here, and then you come back up. I don't know if you would go that high, but that's the kind of formation that I would expect is some kind of recovery once the announcement around dilution is done. Typically, you've seen this in the past with GameStop, and I could probably even pull up the last time that this happened. I know for sure it happened back here, and you left a big, fat, nasty gap. I believe this was the Roaring Kitty stream. And then you gap down, trade sideways after you gap down. So you had a nice recovery up to 23, and then you continued because there was just silence and the company was still selling shares. And then you gap up off of the announcement. You make one last form of support, and you go to fill the gap you left from the previous gap down of the announcement. And you've seen a lot of examples of this because GameStop has been trying their hardest to raise money. For what? I have no idea. Ryan Cohen is an absolute maniac and has not spoken a lick or a word about their plans for GameStop. But what we do know is that they are actively seeking to purchase Bitcoin. And in my opinion, that is bullish. Bitcoin is a digital source of gold. It is a digital source of value that appreciates. So I am on board with that company plan. I would just like a little bit more transparency from Ryan's part. Let's see, the last stock ticker here that I wanted to go over was Sofi. And let's see. Of Sofi, there's a couple key levels that I'm looking at, and it revolves around gap fills to the upside, downside, and the daily golden cross that we're about to have. Beyond that, I'd like to see this happen? Let me draw it out here. So let's take our drawing tool. You just kind of closed below the 9-day EMA. So usually that indicates downside. You do have a gap to the downside that's a little bit lower than I'd like, but it's 1143. So let's say, because you broke the 9-day EMA, you go down and you test. By the time that this happens right here, your golden cross would have already happened, and maybe it doesn't have to go that low, but let's say your golden cross, bink, you test the golden cross in the daily, which is inherently freaking bullish, and then you get your bounce back above the neckline, you hold the neckline, and then you're off to the races to fill the gap at 1787. That is my update on stock ticker Sofi. Quick and easy. I believe it's got upside in it still. I don't believe it's done. But the absolute bear case scenario here is, let's say you just knife and Israel continues escalating and you fill the gap and then it's just not enough and you double bottom. I could see a scenario where a double bottom at 860 is possible. And in that case, I would buy the freaking dip because that would be a fantastic buying opportunity. But of course, nothing I say or do is financial advice. I am just a retail investor on this Freaky Friday. Guys, have a freaking wonderful weekend. Go outside. Spend time with your father and your loved ones. It is Father's Day, so in advance, guys, happy Father's Day. Please make sure to like and subscribe. It would mean a whole ton. I know we're still at 3 subscribers, but we're building from the ground up. Beyond that, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day, and peace.